You were not born to merely exist. You were not placed on this earth to simply wake up, work, pay bills, and then die. No manufacturer produces a product without purpose, and no creator releases a creation without intent. Your very existence is evidence that purpose preceded you. Before your mother met your father, before your first breath was drawn, your life was written with intention. The question is not whether you have a purpose. The question is whether you've taken the time to ask the one who gave it to you. You see, purpose is never discovered through ambition alone. It is not found in the applause of people or in the accumulation of possessions. Those things may provide excitement, but not fulfillment. You can have fame and still feel lost. You can have success and still be confused. Because true fulfillment only comes when you are aligned with the reason you were created. And that kind of clarity doesn't come from the outside world. It comes from talking to the Creator himself. God did not create you to figure out your life by trial and errors. He designed you with a manual in mind. His mind, just like a car's manufacturer, includes a manual in the glove box to guide its function. Your Creator holds the blueprint to your existence. And the only way to access it is to go back to Him in conversation. This is why prayer is not a religious obligation. It's a strategic necessity. It's not about reciting empty words. It's about entering into a divine exchange. It's you, the created, seeking clarity from the Creator. When you have a real talk with God, not just a list of requests or complaints, but a sincere pursuit of understanding, something powerful happens. You begin to receive insight. You begin to sense directions. You begin to understand why certain things in your life never seem to work, why some doors closed, why some people walked away, why some dreams didn't come to pass. Because purpose governs designs. And when you understand your purpose, you stop comparing yourself to people who were never made to walk your path. But you cannot discover that purpose through casual acquaintance with God. Purpose is hidden in the secret place. It's concealed in moments of intimacy, not in religious routine. If you want to know why you were born, you must ask the one who breathed life into you. You must get quiet long enough to hear the whisper that can realign your life. You must stop chasing the world's definition of success and start asking heaven for your assignments. Many people lie frustrated because they are trying to force their way into a role they were never assigned to play. They are gifted in one area, but trying to mimic someone else's callings. That's what happens when you skip the conversation with God. That's what happens when you live by imitation instead of revelations. But when you take time to talk to God, really talk to Him, He begins to strip away the layers of confusion. He begins to peel back the false identities you've picked up from culture, from fears, from failure. He starts to reveal the original idea He had when He formed you. Your purpose is not something you invent, it's something you uncover. And it is uncovered in the presence of the one who thought of you first. This is not a mystery meant to remain hidden forever. It is a truth waiting to be revealed to the one who dares to ask, to listen, and to obey. But God will not force purpose on you. He offers it to those who seek it through Him. Prayer has been misunderstood for far too long. For many, it has become a ritual, a tradition, a moment of reciting memorized words with no expectation of response. It has been reduced to an act of religious obligation, something to check off the list, something to do before meals or before bed. But prayer was never meant to be a ceremony. It was always intended to be a conversation. It is not about impressing God with eloquent speech or trying to earn His favor through repetition. It is the most powerful form of communication between heaven and earth. It is a kingdom dialogue between the king and his representative on earth. You are not just a religious being, you are a citizen of a kingdom. That changes everything. Religion gives you routines, but the kingdom gives you relationship. In a religion, people pray to reach a distant deity. In the kingdom, you speak with your Father, your King, your source. The moment you understand that, your entire approach to prayer shifts. You no longer pray as a beggar hoping for crumbs. You come as a son, as a daughter, seeking direction, counsel, and empowerment. In a kingdom, the representatives, the ambassador does not beg the king. He receives orders, guidance, and provision to carry out his assignment. Silence is not always a void. Sometimes it is the voice of God in a different form. When a teacher gives a test, they are silent. They do not talk during the examinations. Not because they are no longer present, but because the time for instruction has passed and now it is time to see what you have learned. That's how God operates. There are seasons when He teaches, when He speaks, when He guides with clarity. But there are also seasons when He steps back, not to punish you, but to prove you, to see if you will hold on to what He already said, to see if you can walk by faith and not by sight. Many people confuse God's silence with rejection, but rejection is when He turns away from you. Silence is when He's watching to see if you trust what He's already spoken. Do you believe the vision He gave you before the delays? Do you still the promise when nothing looks like it's coming to pass? Faith is not proven in noise, it's proven in stillness. It's not proven when you're surrounded by signs and wonders. It's proven when you feel like you're in a wilderness and all you have left is a word. Silence is a refining place. It strips away your need for constant affirmations. It removes the crutch of emotional dependency. It forces you to dig into the Word, to lean into what He already revealed. It teaches you to walk by principle, not just by voice. There are people who can only move when they hear something fresh. But mature sons and daughters can walk in obedience even when heaven seems quiet, because they have learned to anchor themselves in what God already said. God's silence also reveals your motives. When He's not speaking, do you still seek Him? When He's not answering your requests, do you still worship? When the blessings pause, does your devotion remain? That silence is like a mirror. It shows you the truth about your hearts. It reveals whether you love God for who He is or for what He does. The mature believer does not wither in the silence, they grow in it. They use the silence to listen deeper, to examine themselves, to mature beyond surface level faith. In that silence, God is working on you. He is developing patience, shaping character, maturing vision. He's preparing you for the next seasons. And sometimes preparation requires separation. God doesn't want to just speak to you. He wants to grow you. And growth doesn't always come with noise. A seed makes no sound when it's breaking through the soil, but something powerful is happening beneath the surface. In the same way, something is happening in you during the silence. Something is shifting, aligning, breaking, building. When God is silent, He's also watching your response. Will you remain faithful when you feel forgotten? Will you continue in obedience without applause or visible results? These moments are crucial because how you handle silence determines how you will handle influence. If you cannot be trusted to stay faithful when you don't hear anything, you cannot be trusted with greater responsibility when the next word comes. Silence filters out the impulsive. It separates the committed from the casual. It's the proving ground of trust, the training ground for leadership, the preparation ground for purpose. God's silence is never wasted. It's intentional, it's precise, it's part of your formation. Sometimes the greatest revelations come after the quietest seasons. When the shift happens, you learn things in the silence that noise would have distracted you from. You see God differently when you have to seek Him more diligently. You begin to desire His presence more than just His provisions. You begin to understand that trust is not built when everything is explained. It is built when nothing makes sense and you choose to believe anyway. Revelation is not just information. It is divine strategies. God does not speak casually and He does not reveal randomly. He speaks with purpose and He reveals with intentions. One of the greatest misunderstandings people have is the belief that God is withholding things out of cruelty or distance, when in reality, He is often silent because you're not ready to receive what you're asking for. God will never give you more than you're prepared to handle. His timing is tied to your maturity. His revelation is measured by your capacity. You don't receive more because you're louder in prayer. You receive more when you are ready to steward what He shows you. There are things you've been crying out for, answers you've been desperate to receive, and directions you've been pleading to understand, but God in His wisdom has not revealed them. Not because He's ignoring you, but because premature revelation can destroy immature vessels, just like a child can't handle the responsibility of managing a house. Many believers can't yet carry the weight of what they're asking God to show them. A revelation too soon crush you instead of build you. So God in His mercy withholds, not to punish, but to protect. Preparation is not optional. It is the gate that leads to deeper understanding. God is not interested in showing you more just to satisfy your curiosities. He reveals with the expectation of action. He gives insight to those who are ready to obey. He reveals vision to those who have been faithful with the last instructions. There are levels of clarity that only come on the other side of obedience. Some people stay stuck not because God isn't speaking, but because they've refused to move on what He already said. God doesn't skip steps. If you haven't obeyed step 1, He won't give you step 2. He doesn't cater to impatience. He honors readiness. Readiness is not about age or years in the faith. It is about the posture of your heart. Are you teachable? Are you surrendered? Are you willing to be stretched, to be corrected, to be disciplined by the Word? These are the things God looks for when He measures your capacity, because revelation carries responsibility. Once you see something, you are accountable for it. Once you hear it, you are expected to act on it. God will not give you insight, will become a witness against your disobedience. So He waits, He watches, He tests. It's not to find out what's in you, He already knows, but to reveal it to you. There's a reason Jesus said, "To whom much is given, much is required." Some people want much revelation with little responsibility, but the kingdom doesn't operate like that. Heaven does not waste words. If God tells you something, it's because He expects you to carry it out. And if you won't carry it, He won't reveal it. Sometimes the delay is not in God speaking, it's in your growing. The quicker you grow in character, in faith, in obedience, the more He will show you. Some people are waiting for a word, and God is waiting for their growth. There's a maturity you must reach before the next assignment is revealed. And that growth happens in the quiet place, in the hidden seasons, in the day-to-day moments where no one sees you but God. Your capacity to handle revelation is connected to your relationship with the revealer. The more you spend time with him, the more he can trust you. The more you obey, the more he'll disclose. Not because he loves you more, but because he knows he can trust you more. Trust is not built through words. It's proven through consistency. God wants to entrust you with insight that shifts generations, but he's watching what you do with the little things first. Can you handle correction without offense? Can you stay faithful without applause? Can you remain humble with small responsibilities? These are the indicators of preparation. When you are truly prepared, God doesn't have to be begged to speak. He delights to reveal. He's not withholding out of spite. He's waiting for the moment when what he reveals will propel you, not paralyze you. When it will launch you into purpose, not cause you to retreat in fear. He knows what's ahead. He sees the weight of the vision you're praying for. He understands the opposition that comes with the assignment. So he's shaping you now for what he wants to show you later. The waiting is not empty. It is purposeful. It is making room in your life, in your character, in your spirit for what's coming. Think you're ready for more, but God sees what you cannot. And so he reveals in proportion to your preparati. Identity is not something you create. It is something you discover. And true discovery happens only in the presence of the one who formed you. The world will offer you labels, roles, and titles, but none of them can answer the fundamental question that lives in the heart of every human being: who am I? Until that question is answered by the Creator, every other identity you adopt will be unstable. You will wear masks to fit into crowds, shift your character to match expectations, and exhaust yourself trying to be everything to everyone. But none of that will satisfy the itch in your soul for authenticity. Only God, the one who formed you in your mother's womb, can speak to your original design. And it is in his presence that your identity becomes clear. When you spend time with God, you begin to see yourself through his eyes. You begin to strip off the layers the world has added. Labels from pain, names from failure, and titles from performance. All those things may have shaped your experience, but they were never meant to define your essence. Only God has the authority to define you, because only God authored you. Just like no one but the manufacturer can define the purpose of a product. No one but God can declare your true identity. And he does not reveal it to you in noise or distraction. He reveals it in his presence. In the presence of God, illusions fall apart. The pressure to perform lifts. The need to impress disappears. Because you're no longer standing before people. You're standing before the one who knows you completely and loves you perfectly. There's a security that comes when you realize you don't have to strive to be accepted. You are already chosen. You are already loved. You are already seen. You don't have to earn your place. You were created for it. And when that truth settles in your spirit, it silences every lie that's been shouting in your minds. The reason so many people lie confused about who they are, because they've been shaped more by culture than by communion. They know more about what others say than what God says. They've listened to the voice of rejection, the voice of comparison, the voice of fear. And those voices have built false identities. But when you enter into the presence of God, those voices are drowned out by truth. You begin to hear what heaven says about you. You begin to feel the weight of your worth, not based on what you do, but based on who you are in him. It was in God's presence that Moses discovered he was more than a runaway shepherd. He was a deliverance. It was in God's presence that Gideon found out he was more than a coward hiding in a winepress. He was a mighty warrior. It was in God's presence that Jeremiah realized he was not too young or too inadequate. He was a prophet to the nations. Identity is never fully realized outside of divine encounters. You cannot know your true self until you've been in the presence of your true source. God does not just reveal who you are. He reveals who you are not. He exposes the false names you've been carrying. Names given by trauma, names given by failure, names given by others who couldn't see your worth. In his presence, those false identities are broken. The shame, the guilt, the inadequacy, they lose their grip. You begin to walk with a different posture because you're no longer carrying the weight of pretending. You're walking in the confidence of authenticity. Identity in God's presence is not based on performance. It's rooted in intimacy. The more you draw near to him, the more clearly you see yourself. The mirror of his presence reflects your true image, one shaped by purpose, formed by grace, and sealed by destinies. You don't leave his presence guessing who you are. You leave knowing who you are called to be. And that knowing changes everything. It gives you boldness. It gives you directions. it gives you stability. Because once you know who you are in God, nothing the world says can shake you. You stop chasing validation and start living from revelations. You stop looking for worth in the opinions of people and start anchoring your value in the voice of God. His voice becomes your compass, His word your foundation, His presence your mirrors. You realize that your identity was never lost. It was simply buried beneath layers of noise. And now that you've found the presence of the one who made you, you begin the journey of living from the truth of who you've always been. Destiny is not something you stumble into by accident. It is a divine path that must be walked out with intentions. And that intention must be guided by instruction. You cannot fulfill your God-ordained destiny until you first receive and obey what He says. Purpose is not self-discovered, it is revealed. And revelation comes through communication with the one who designed you. No matter how gifted, passionate, or driven you are, without divine instruction, your energy can be misdirected. You can build the wrong thing, pursue the wrong assignment, attach yourself to the wrong people, or even be in the right place at the wrong times. Destiny is not just about doing good things. It's about doing the right thing at the right time in alignment with the right word from God. From the beginnings, God never intended man to operate apart from His voice. The first thing Adam received was not a task, it was instruction. God spoke to him before He gave him dominions. Because dominion without direction is dangerous. You can have authority, but if it's not governed by divine instruction, it becomes confusion. That's why God's voice is not optional. It's essential. You were never designed to figure out life on your own. You were created to live by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. That word, proceeds, is present tense. It means God is still speaking. And if He is still speaking, then you must still be listening. Instruction is not just about commands. It's about alignment. It positions you to walk in sync with heaven's agenda for your life. Many people are gifted but frustrated. They feel a call but lack clarity. They are moving, but they are not advancing. That's what happens when movement is disconnected from instruction. You can be active but ineffective. You can be busy but out of order. The question is not just, what are you doing? But did God say to do it? Because only what is birthed by instruction will be sustained by grace. When God gives you an instruction, it is because He has already gone ahead of you. His words are not mere suggestions. They are invitations into a prepared place. There is a timing and a location attached to every word He speaks. That's why delayed obedience is still disobedience. You can't fulfill destiny on your own schedules. Destiny is not just about arrival, it's about agreement. And agreement begins with hearing. Faith comes by hearing, and destiny requires faith. If you do not hear, you cannot believe rightly. And if you do not believe rightly, you will not act rightly. Instruction sets the course. It becomes the compass that leads you through seasons of uncertainty and transitions. God's instruction also protects you. It keeps you from wasting years on detours. It shields you from unnecessary battles. It reveals hidden traps and exposes false opportunities. What looks good to your eyes may not be good for your purpose. And only God's instruction can discern the difference. When He says, go, it's because He has prepared the ways. When He says, wait, it's because He's protecting you from what you cannot yet see. But if you're not listening, you may rush into what you were never assigned to handle. That's why silence in your spiritual life is dangerous. Not because God isn't speaking, but because if you're not hearing, you're walking blind. In every major turning point of scriptures, there was first a word. Noah received instruction to build before the flood came. Abraham heard go before he became the father of nations. Moses heard come up before he received the laws. Joshua heard be strong and courageous before he led into battle. Even Jesus did nothing except what he saw the Father do and heard the Father say. If the Son of God needed instructions, how much more do you? You cannot fulfill divine destiny with carnal wisdom. Natural logic will never be and navigate a supernatural assignment. You need the voice of God, not just once, but continually. You need to cultivate a lifestyle of listening, a discipline of waiting, a hunger for instruction, because your destiny is too important to guess your way through. You weren't created to wander. You were called to walk in purpose. But that walk begins with a word that brings order, clarity, correction, and confidence. A word that shows you who you are, where you're going, and how to get there. A word that unlocks the next season of your life, if you have the ears to hear it.